Hi everyone, welcome back to Cheese and Turtles. My name's Imogen, and in today's video I'm sharing how I decided on my first apartment. This is another video in my Living Alone series, so if you want you can go and check out the other ones that I have made. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. Give this video a huge thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram. Let's get started. So, I moved into my first apartment by myself in 2024, and in order to do that, I had to go through a stage of deciding all the criteria and actually viewing properties. Like, I did a whole vlog on house hunting. It was a whole thing, guys. So, here's how I decided on my first apartment, because this is a very kind of grown-up thing that I hadn't done before, and I hope if you're trying to decide on your first apartment, this will give you some guidance on how to go through the process and end up with a successful apartment that you really like. Ta-da! Okay, that was really weird. Ta-da! Slightly better. Let's move on. So, number one, location. I studied my undergrad degree in Durham, and I obviously had to decide where I was going to move, or if I was going to stay there, or what I was going to do. So, I knew very strongly that I wanted to move back to Cambridge. So, I was born in Cambridge, I grew up in Cambridge, and I love Cambridge as a city. I think it's wonderful. It has like loads of job opportunities. It's really beautiful. It has links to London. It has amazing art and culture, and it's just generally a wonderful place. And so I knew that I wanted to move back to Cambridge. However, I did not want to move back in with my parents. And I also waited until I was sure that this would align with my career, okay? I chose Cambridge because I knew it really well as a place. It's a lovely place to live, and you know, all of those things that I mentioned. And if you're interested in like learning more about Cambridge, I've made loads of videos on like why I love living in Cambridge and all of that stuff, so go and check those out. But I knew I wanted to move to Cambridge for a whole bunch of reasons, and I waited until I was sure that like my career would allow me to live here. All right, budget. So, Cambridge is a relatively expensive place to live. It's often on a lot of like most expensive cities in the UK lists. So for a fresh grad, that was a bit daunting, and I was aware of how like sort of scary the rental market in Cambridge is, because I'd seen, you know, like my friends and my friends' parents like growing up worry about it. So yeah, I adjusted my budget and my expectations of a potential apartment accordingly. I am like aware that some people, you know, like they go for like 2-bed apartments. There's no way I could afford a 2-bed in Cambridge. There is no way. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to live in a studio or a 1-bed if I want the location. And the location was really important to me. So I was like, you know what? I will compromise on my like living situation a little bit in order to get the location. I would rather live in a shoebox in an amazing city than in like a 5-bedroom house in the middle of like fucking nowhere. Okay? That 5-bedroom house will be worse for my mental health than a shoebox in a great location. Okay, so it's, for me, it's like definitely location over place, if that makes sense. Location and place are the same thing. It's location over building. Budget. So I wanted to ensure that my income would support me to move there and would also maintain my expenses long term. Okay, so I had to take into account like the rental prices, the cost of living, and make sure that like my income would absolutely support that, because if it doesn't, then you're moving to a place which you can't afford, and that is going to put you like in the hole financially really fast. So I didn't want to be irresponsible. I wanted to make sure that the numbers all added up. So I had to go through a process of like having a spreadsheet and being like, okay, what can I afford? You know, can I afford to move back to Cambridge? And the answer was yes, obviously, which was great, but it was a process where I had to really take a sort of a long, hard look at my finances and my income and the sort of the cost of living and balance one against the other and be like, do I come out on top? And I did come out on top, so that's great, but you've got to go through that process. Criteria. This was the fun part. Okay, so I decided location, I worked out that I could afford it. Fantastic. Now I needed to decide what kind of place I was looking for. So I had 2 lists. Well, I had 1 list with 2 sections. And the first section was absolute deal breakers, like stuff I would not compromise on in a place. And these were things that if I viewed a flat and it had one of those, I would immediately say no. And then the other part of the list was things that I would like, but I would compromise on, like nice to haves, but not essentials. So like things that I would enjoy having in an apartment, but if I viewed an apartment and it didn't have it, that's fine, it's not a deal breaker. So, some of the criteria that I used included studio or a one bed. Due to the housing market in Cambridge, I was aware I might have to live in a studio, and some of the places that I viewed were like studios, but I was lucky to find a one bed flat, and I love my flat so much. I knew that this was a compromise I needed to make in order to live in a really good location, and I was completely on board with that. You know, you can't have it all. Like, there is no way I'm gonna live in a 5-bed house in Cambridge when and also, why would I want that? Like, I am one person, okay? So it was about finding the right sort of place for me that fit my budget, fit my lifestyle, fit who I am right now. So, studio or a one bed. I was only viewing studios and one bed apartments. And this was also partly due to my budget, to be honest. First floor. This was, I can't remember if this was a deal breaker for me or like top of my preferred list. But I just like first floor flats. I have a fear of home invasions, and I just really need to feel secure, especially as a woman living alone. Like, that kind of security concern is really important for me. So I really strongly preferred first floor flats and or above. Like, I would have gone for like second or third floor, just not ground. Basically, I should have phrased this like not ground floor. But most flats are like either first or ground floor. So in this housing market, it made sense for me to just be like, I want to view first floor flats. And I did view a ground floor flat, so I think maybe it wasn't entirely a deal breaker, but I think that one had a lot of other security measures, so I was like happy to view it. Okay, and on that point, security, okay? My flat has like plenty of security measures which help me feel safe. Not just the first floor thing, but loads of other stuff as well. And those, I think that was a deal breaker for me. Like, if I viewed a flat and it didn't feel secure to me, or I wasn't like totally on board with all the security measures, there's no way I would have signed it. All right, another deal breaker for me was natural light. Now, I am aware that sometimes, you know, more expensive flats have like better natural light, and I was like, okay, but this is really a deal breaker for me. Like, I will view more and more places until I find one that has enough natural light, and my flat has lovely natural light. I get like the sunrise in one room, I get the sunset in another room. It's really stunning, so I am very grateful to have found that. Car and bike parking. I don't have a car, but people visit me who have cars, and I would like to get a car, so that was important. And bike parking. I have a bike. I needed somewhere to put it, so that was a non-negotiable. That was a deal breaker. And unfurnished. So some flats are furnished, some flats are unfurnished. I only viewed unfurnished or like very minimally furnished flats. I wanted to furnish it myself and choose the decor accordingly. Now, I know it's more expensive, but also you get to keep all the things, and the things are your things, and it just helps you customize the place so much more. So I wanted an unfurnished flat, and I got one. Yeah. So once I saw the apartment I wanted, I knew straight away that it fit all my criteria and also had the right vibes in that I felt at home there. Fun fact, when I saw the listing for this apartment, I wasn't sure about it. I sent it to one of my friends and I said, I'm not sure, should I view this apartment? Because I'd organised the viewing, and I was like, you know, I'm going to view this apartment on like Tuesday or whenever, and I think it might be a waste of time. Like, I don't think this is the apartment for me. And he sent me like this message back being like, are you kidding? This is the one. And I was like, how can you say that? Like, I don't think this is the one. And then as soon as I stepped through the front door on this viewing, I don't know how he knew, but I stepped through the front door on this viewing, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the one. So I feel like maybe the listing kind of undersold this place, because as soon as I stepped through the door, I could see myself living here. Like, it was like I sort of had this sort of like virtual reality vision of where everything would go, and I just knew that this was my flat as soon as I viewed it. So like, as soon as I finished the viewing, I was like, oh my god, this is the flat. Like, if I don't get this flat, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry for like the rest of my life. So I like sprinted to the nearest pub, and I got out my laptop and I like plugged it in, and I filled out the application and sent it like literally 10 minutes after leaving the viewing. I applied for this place like immediately, and I did get approved. So that was really good. But yeah, that was how I decided on my first apartment. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Apartment hunting doesn't have to be scary, but I hope I've managed to like demystify the process for you a little bit. Alright, that's the end of this video. See you next time. Bye!